Hello, everybody. Happy Saturday. I'm just hopping on here today because I wanted to talk with you about the Priestess Path. So last week we checked in and I shared a little bit about some of the foundational practices that we learned during the Priestess Path. For those of you who don't know what the Priestess Path is a 13 moon, 12-month journey basically into yourself to find your inner priestess. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about what comes after foundational practices, as well as why are we even doing this thing? So I put together this program because of my own experiences. I've been practicing witchcraft, earth-based spirituality for 20 plus years. And during that time, I have practiced solo and I have practiced in a circle with other women and in groups and in large public rituals as well. And in practicing within the container of a circle with other women, I have had the experience of not only getting to hold that space and learn how to hold the space for the other women present, but also to be able to tap into my confidence and my own connection to source. And when I do that in that space that's being held by other people, or within the space I'm holding for other people, my confidence goes way up. My connection feels deeper. And I feel much more in relationship with my own inner wisdom. And when I've had that experience, I have wanted nothing more than to be able to share it with other women, because there is something deeply, deeply empowering about tapping into source, bringing it up, and allowing that to be sort of the framework through which you move through the world. We all have gifts, and those gifts are different. Thank goodness, right? Because if we were all the same, super boring. But we all have gifts, and within our spiritual practices, we often are able to tap more deeply into those gifts and bring them into the world. I teach a class called Priestessing in the Modern World, and I will be teaching that later, actually the beginning of June. It's a free class, and you'll hear about that here. However, when I teach that class, I talk about the word priestess and I talk about what that means to you, to me, and how that appears now in our current world, state of the world, because we don't hear about it that much, right? We don't hear the word priestess used that often. Well, maybe you do, depending on the circles you run in. But it's not something that kind of in the popular culture that we're chatting about. And yet we all are priestesses. It's just a matter of whether or not we're tapping into our gifts and bringing them forth. So that's the other piece of the Priestess Path, the reason I created it, is that not only do I want to help people, women, feel empowered and feel witnessed and held and feel like they can witness and hold others, but I want you to be able to tap into the gifts that you have, deepen that relationship, and bring them out into the world. Let that shine out there. We need more priestesses. Trust me, the world needs more. So, and you already have it there. So this is really about finding it and bringing it out. So last week I came to you, had a little chat. We talked about foundational practices, things like clearing your energy, grounding your energy, casting a circle, creating that sacred space, working with elements. And those are all the beginning stages of this 1 year that we spend together in the Priestess Path. But what comes next? So we've got our foundational practices. We've been messing around with them a little bit, practicing, starting to feel a little more comfortable and confident. Then what? So the next thing I do is I ask you to go inward. And the way that we do that is the next 3 lessons that we follow. So each month is a lesson, or each lesson is a month. The first one is the Maiden, Mother, and Crone. And so I talk about that and I ask you to experience it. Dive into these different archetypes within yourself. Explore all the different pieces of each of those archetypes, because there is shadow and there is light, and they span across so many years of our lives. And so I'm asking you during that time together to go in and to learn more about how you are bringing those things into the world, into being, right? To learn more about what your relationship with those archetypes are outside of yourself and within yourself. Because what happens inside changes outside, and what happens outside changes inside. So how is that working in the relationships you hold with other people in the world and with yourself? So that's the first one. We go into the Maiden, Mother, and Crone, and we dive deep. The lesson that comes after that is all about sacred sexuality. So as women, we are so often, let me back up. As women, our relationship with our own sexuality can be complicated. And that is born from a variety of things. It's born from messages that we get from the popular culture, messages that we might get from our family, our own relationship with our bodies, which can be from the popular culture, our families, ourselves, people that we've known in our lives. It's complex. And so what we do in sacred sexuality is we really try to figure out, what is that relationship that I hold with my sexuality? What is that relationship I hold with my sensuality and my body and the confidence that lives there? So we're getting in there. We're kind of mixing things up a little bit, and we're exploring that, and we're playing with these concepts, and we're learning how to feel a little more comfortable in our own skin through kind of peeling back these layers and looking within. So that's the second piece, the second deep dive. The third piece that we do following that is shadow work. So we spend a month diving into our shadow. And I love shadow work because here's the image that comes to mind when I think of it, is Peter Pan with his shadow and that detached shadow, right? It's like, he's like, I got to stitch this thing back on. So many of us are trying to bury our shadows. I don't know. I don't want to look at that. I don't want to see that because it's uncomfortable sometimes, and it can feel kind of funky. And sometimes we don't want to believe that we might think a certain way or feel a certain way. But we all have both sides. We all have that shadow and light, just like I was just saying with the Maiden, Mother, and Crone. Every archetype, every person, we have that shadow and light. So the shadow work portion of our time together is really about kind of unearthing the shadow and making friends with it. Doesn't mean you necessarily have to like it. Maybe you do have to like it. Let me say that different, because that's not what I mean. You do have to like it. You do have to, maybe it makes you uncomfortable. Maybe you're like, I don't know, that's not really a piece that I like, but it's a part of you. So how do you embrace that part of you and understand and have compassion for that part of you? So that's the shadow work piece, is looking at it, understanding it, hanging out with it, embodying it. We don't get permission to play with our shadows very often. So that's really what that next piece is. So after we've laid our foundational pieces, we've learned kind of some basics about creating ritual, casting a circle, grounding our energy, all of that. We've had opportunities to practice. Then we go inward. We do these next three lessons that are all about going inward. What happens after that? Well, the next part, and I'm not going to dive into that today, I'll talk more about it next week, but the next part is really about now that we've gotten a little more comfortable in our skin, now that we've pushed our energy down into the earth a little bit more and reached up to the sky a little bit more and found that connection to source and found our own inner wisdom, made maybe a more profound connection with it, because I'm sure you listen to it sometimes already, if not all the time, but really built that relationship into a deeper place. Then we start to look at things like divination and dream work, and spell casting, and yeah, we just start looking at some of those things. So that will be the next piece, and I'll talk more about that next week. In the meantime, what you need to know is that the next cohort comes together June 19th is when we begin. And this program is designed to be worked within a small group. So there's only 12 spots available. And it is designed like that for a reason, because I want to really cultivate the trust and safety that happens in a small group so that you can feel like it's okay to explore some of these areas and share about it and be witnessed in it. There's a lot of power in being witnessed. So again, only 12 spots. We begin June 19th. Registration opens June 6th. And if you are on the wait list, you actually have early registration access. So I have put a link up in the description of this video. And if you are interested in getting on that wait list and maybe signing up early, if you're starting to really feel that call, you're like, I am ready to bring my priestess self forth, get on the wait list, and you'll be getting an email from me in advance so that you can be first in line to sign up. I look forward to sharing this really transformational experience with you and helping to hold that space for you to look within and transform, become, embody. You are magic. Just embrace it.